Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Season Ticket Holders. I'm your host, Dane Lillingstone, and I have our very favourite UFC commentator because it is fight week, baby. Tom Hayfield, future Muay Thai champion, and now City to Surf champion. How are you?
What an intro. Thanks, Dane. Thanks for having me. Good to be back. There was some tech issues on my end, but we're cooking with gas now, and I'm excited. It's going to be a good podcast.
I know. I'm going to have to be the super sub in my OzTag team tonight, mate, but that's okay. That's fine.
I apologise. The tech, mate. I'm still, I've got some new mics and we're good to go. We're back in business. I apologise for the mess around.
The main thing is you're going to sound beautiful to all our listeners out there, mate. So that's very important. Mate, City to Surf on the weekend as well. How was that?
It was good. It was wet. It was cold, but we got it done. I got the late call up. I did it with my wife, Jade. She raised $2,500 for the Children's Hospital, so super proud of her. And yeah, it was an awesome event. And but yeah, I was definitely keen for a hot shower afterwards.
And a few beers, I imagine.
Yeah, had a couple. It was good. It was back in business.
And let's not forget, of course, Dry July. We haven't spoken to you since then. Give us an update on how that all went, mate. And I imagine the celebrations after that went pretty long into the weekend as well.
It was good. We had a box at the Manly Roosters game. There was 10 of my mates in a box, 3 hours unlimited beers. So it definitely made up for a month of not drinking. It was a bit of a large night, but good to see the fellas and good to get amongst it. It was a shame Manly played pretty average, but it was a good night.
Let's not get started on Manly, mate. I've already had my own run-ins with them over the last week, but that's okay. Now, Tommy, it is a big week of UFC. Plenty of news headlined by the new Paramount deal, which you and I have been brushing up on today. We'll get into that as well. And, of course, it is UFC 319 this weekend. We're finally going to see if Khamzat Chimaev can live up to the hype in that middleweight showdown with Dricus Plessis. And finally, Steve Erceg on the weekend, which is what I want to just touch on just a little bit off the top. Now, he was coming off a 3-fight losing streak, and it was looking pretty dire. In saying that, the first one was a title fight against Alexandre Pantoja back in May 2024, where he almost won. He was probably a round away from winning that fight. And then he backed that up by a bit of a shock knockout to Kai Kara France. This hard decision against Brandon Moreno, the former champion, Ode Osbourne. Did you watch the fight, Tommy? Because it was interesting. You would have seen the highlights, I'm sure, but he gets knocked down in the first, and it looked like Erceg was done. Looked like he was heading for 4 in a row. Somehow comes back, grinds that second round decision out, and then the third round gets a really nice takedown with about 3 minutes to go, and then never really looked like losing the fight. Ends up on top, few ground and pound, but that's a big win for Astro Boy, our Perth product, hey?
I'm glad he got the win. It was, people were saying it was do or die for his UFC career, and you never want to see an Aussie, go down. So good on him, and I didn't actually see the fight. I was mid City to Surf run, but you filled me in. So no, I'm stoked for him, man. That's a great result. Good for the Aussie fighters.
It's awesome to see where he comes. He was coming into that as the number 10 ranked flyweight. So he did drop down the divisions after those 3 losses, but he's obviously got the talent. I would say he looked a little bit slow in that first round. So I was a little bit concerned about that against Ode Osbourne. But he did bounce back. So that puts him back in the picture. I would say he's going to need to string some wins together now. Like, even though he did look great against Pantoja, arguably the best any challengers looked in recent years against him, really building a run. But if Erceg can string it together, it will be interesting. Now, mate, and not to mention too, I did have to quickly touch on the actual main event because that was a gangster choke. Did you see that, mate? It was just like he stood up, he just bullied him. It wasn't even like he had hooks in. Anthony Hernandez just gets that arm around. I think it went down as a rear naked, but it was a gangster choke, mate.
Wow, how cool. That's awesome.
It was brutal, man. It was brutal. He really monstered him in there. Now, we will get into our full UFC pay-per-view breakdown. But first off, this news, which is broken in the last sort of 24, 48 hours, the UFC has signed a new deal with Paramount. In US money, that's a $7.7 billion deal over 7 years. They say they're going to end the pay-per-view model, which will be crazy because that's what we've all known for the UFC, since we've been growing up, you and I watching the sport, it's always been built on a pay-per-view model like WWE and boxing before it. And this new deal will mean there'll be no pay-per-views in the US at least. I know I've had a lot of people ask me, it's a great thing for Australia. And I did make some calls, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to affect us here because the last thing I checked is that Main Event, KO, Fox Sports, there is a multi-year deal in place still currently that was signed, I believe, at the beginning of last year, which will mean they will still be the providers in Australia of the UFC. So we're still, at least as far as I'm aware right now in this moment, we're still going to have to pay for pay-per-views, at least for the foreseeable future until that trickles down into America. I know you listen to Ariel Helwani as well. I was catching up to date in their thoughts in America. What were your initial thoughts when you heard about the deal?
Well, I woke up super excited. I thought this is Christmas Day all come at once for UFC fans. I thought no more pay-per-views, pay a subscription to Paramount and there you go. It's $12, $13 a month and you've got all the UFC events, all the numbered cards, 43 events they were saying a year included in that subscription. But as I've come to learn, and I asked you the question this morning, what does it mean for Aussies? And unfortunately, I think they're reporting it's just domestically in America. So for us, I'm guessing the pay-per-view model still stands if they've got this deal with KO. You would obviously know more, Dane, no more working for Fox. But yeah, I was excited as a UFC fan, but then it raises a lot of questions like, what does it mean for the fighters? Because a lot of the champions, they get pay-per-view percentages and bonuses, and I wonder what that's going to mean for the fighters. Obviously, it's a massive, massive increase. I think they were saying the previous deal was $550 million a year. Now it's $1.1 billion a year. This is crazy money. This is Dana White just taking this sport from strength to strength, and what a businessman. And just, he's obviously $1.1 billion is crazy money, and he's happy. He doesn't need pay-per-views, and everyone's illegally streaming it anyway. So he's a winner.
You're not wrong about that, mate. I know. Maybe I'm guilty. No, I'm not. Just kidding. But you are right, man, because you're talking about double the money, and fighter pay in the UFC has been a really big deal for a number of years now. I know ABC's Four Corners here in Australia even did a big current affairs story on it only recently. And it is a problem. You've heard the Pauls bring it up internationally as well, trying to bag Dana White. But it's true, because UFC fighters, it's one of the fastest growing sports in the world, as evidenced now by this new TV deal, which does justify they're going to get a lot more exposure as well. They're going to put it out there. American fans, it's going to be more accessible than ever before, because they will get this model where they only have to pay, $15 or whatever it is a month to get, what traditionally were known as pay-per-views, but all the fights now for a fraction of the price they were paying, up to $60, $70, $80 for a pay-per-view. I know that's what we pay here in Australia. So you would hope that this will mean something in the future for fighter pay, because they have been ripped off for a very long time by the company and the organization, and lots of fighters have taken the UFC to court and lawsuits and all that type of thing. So you would like to think that maybe this will go to help that a little bit. The flip side, I know just from hearing some commentary around it, potentially how it could affect us is that maybe the traditional pay-per-view model means that maybe the card's a bit more spread out. Maybe we don't have the Apex cards that are really weak and a really strong pay-per-view. Maybe that sort of levels out a bit more with cards that are a little bit more well-rounded. I'm not sure. That's just speculation. The other one I heard was maybe the timings will change because of the pay-per-views are on at like 10 p.m. and which coast, whatever it is in America. Obviously, it's normally around a midday, wherever you're around in Australia, give or take 2 hours between 10 a.m., 2 p.m. on a Sunday. Will that change the time potentially? It would be, if they were to bring it earlier in America, we could be talking about pay-per-views at like 8 in the morning here, which is obviously not what we would want. That's a very long day for us at the pub, isn't it, mate? On a Sunday.
Early start.
But as far as I'm aware, this deal is locked in. I do work for Fox Sports. I was a little bit concerned when I first heard the news, because it means that, our access and coverage would be cut a little bit. But right now, as far as I'm aware for Australia, it still will be a KO Fox Sports main event deal. Like I said, they did sign that exclusive deal early last year. It was a multi-year deal. I'm not exactly sure when that would end or if that will change. Obviously, there is some complications to that, because DAZN has bought KO, Foxtel, Fox Sports, all under that umbrella. That's going to change in the next year or two. The ownership model or there, Foxtel won't really be a thing like soon in the future, depending, everything's going to change. So it will be one to wait and see. But I think the main thing would be, it'd be great if the fighters do get paid. I think that's one of the main takeaways. Dana White said that Paramount's going to carry 43 yearly events, 30 fight night events, and 13 numbered cards, and that will begin in January 2026. So that is, and don't forget, White House on CBS. That's the card, Tommy. Will you believe it? We're going to see a White House card potentially. That's the plan with Dana.
That's crazy. And it is interesting. It raises a few questions. Do they have to stack these numbered cards now? Like, if they're not so much a pay-per-view, I'm interested that, pay-per-view isn't just a blanket across the world for UFC. Like, I was unaware that there's some countries that that Irish guy on Ariel Helwani's show said that TNT Sports in Ireland and in the UK don't charge pay-per-view and haven't for some years, because it's on it in the middle of the night for them. So like no one's up paying money to watch that. So I think that's part of a subscription, has been for a while. I thought it was just a blanket across the world pay-per-view. Everyone's paying $60 to $80, whatever it is, to watch these fights. So it's interesting how these TV deals work all around the world and for different countries. And obviously that US market is massive, and it's a huge deal. That is crazy money, and just shows how much this sport is going from strength to strength.
And I think that's the good thing. This is just more cement, more evidence that the UFC does belong legitimately along all the biggest sports in the world. Anyone who still thinks that it's cage fighting or any of those sort of stereotypes that are still out there, if you do think that and combat sports aren't for you, that's on you. But I think this just goes to show the appetite and the legitimacy that the UFC and mixed martial arts has around the world. Now, Tommy, let's get into it, mate, because it is fight week, and this is going to be a big one. The middleweight title fight, Dricus du Plessis, Khamzat Chimaev. Now, Dricus, you and I watched his last fight. You and I were there in Sydney to watch that rematch with Sean Strickland. He was pretty dominant on that night. I think you'd agree. He's now on an 11-fight win streak. He's 23-2. Goofy fight style. I know a lot of people probably don't rate him as much the way he fights, but he gets results, and there's nothing you can really argue about that. What have you made of Dricus in his title run?
Well, it's been an amazing rise to the title, and like you said, 11-fight win streak. That's just unheard of. It's amazing. Everyone is aware that his style's a bit, not the cleanest. He's not the best, striker, best grappler, but he's just the best in that division at the moment at MMA. He's got a well-rounded game. It seems to work, but this is his biggest test today, and I'm so excited for this fight. And he's literally versing probably one of the scariest men on the planet. Like, this guy, what he did to Rob Whittaker, he literally squeezed him that hard that it broke his teeth into his jaw. Like,
The bottom
this
row.
is one scary, scary individual, and for him to do that to our boy Rob Whittaker, yeah, man, I'm so excited for this fight, and it's going to be interesting. I feel like Chimaev has, never fought a 5-round fight. It's kind of uncharted waters for him, whether Dricus, weathers his storm and pushes it out to those later rounds and shows, his experience there. And Chimaev, potentially has the reputation to gas, or is Chimaev just that dominant? He's going to come out and just do what he does and get this done in the first few rounds.
I 100% agree with you, mate. The way I've broken this fight down from the beginning is if Dricus can last, take him into deep waters, go deep into the 4th and 5th rounds, it's going to be interesting if Chimaev can get it done. I think we just have to cast our minds back to Kamaru Usman, and that fight was 3 rounds, and it was a majority decision that night for him. But if that had gone into deeper waters,
Usman had that one. He had that one in those later rounds, and Chimaev was hanging on for that win.
And that's what it is, man. If he can't come out and get an early finish against Dricus, which is going to be the big challenge here. I mean, 2 losses. He got knocked out back in 2018. That's his last loss back in London. Before that, he had an early guillotine loss early in his career back in 2014. That's the only 2 losses of his career. So it's going to be interesting, mate. He's obviously built an incredible resume, 9 knockouts, 11 submissions. He's only been to decision 3 times. So he is a finisher, man. He is a killer. On the flip side, we get into Khamzat Chimaev, the boogeyman, basically, man, of the division and basically the UFC. He's a bit of a scary dude. Like you mentioned, what he did to our boy Robbie was scary. Robbie actually looked like he did all right for the first 2 minutes of that fight before Chimaev just got a hold of him and crushed the bottom of his face in. He had to get surgery, Rob, to get that fixed up. He said his teeth were already loose, I think, but he did have to get that fixed up. Now, that's the last time we've seen him in the octagon. That was back in October. The bad side about Chimaev is he has visa issues, he has health problems, and that means that his growth has been really stunted. He broke out back in 2020. He had 2 first-round finishes, 1 second-round finish in quick succession. That took him to 9-0. Then he had a fight in 2021, another quick submission round 1. He fought twice in 2022. He went to decision with Gilbert Burns. He submitted Kevin Holland. Then he was back for 1 fight in 2023. We just touched on that. That was the Usman fight, and then Robbie Whittaker last year. So he has had his issues. I did see something where he said he could be the champion and run off into the sunset potentially. I don't know how much truth there was to that if he just sort of climbs that hill and is happy. But he's been the long anointed future champion in the UFC. So it's a big question now of whether he can get it done. And I think it will come down to how his gas tank does work. I think this fight all comes down to the gas tank. Now, I do want to mention the sports betting odds, mate, because I thought it was pretty interesting. Everything we've talked about Dricus, mate, what do you think the odds would be for this fight?
I reckon Chimaev's the favourite.
He is. He's
Sure.
$1.40 favourite, and
Oh,
Dricus is playing $2.93 as the champion with that
that is
record. That
massive.
just, how crazy is that?
That's crazy. That's unheard of. Well, that's showing that, people have said Chimaev is going to be the champion for years and years and years. It's just he hasn't had that shot. He had that fight where he missed weight. Doesn't he always get sick? Apparently, like his immune is affected, maybe ever since COVID or something. I'm not sure, but this is his time, and it'll be so interesting. He just goes in and steamrolls Dricus, then it just proves that he's probably been the champion for the last few years. He just hasn't had the opportunity to get there, I guess. But if Dricus can, withstand this and get it done, it just shows how good he is too, and what a resume. What about the caliber of people that he's beaten to remain champion?
Yeah, there's a few things floating around his immune system. I think that's the one that keeps coming out, that there is some sort of issues there and his body kept breaking down and he did kept getting sick. So whatever it was a shame. But let's just go straight into it, mate, because it's going to be an interesting fight. The picks, I sort of want Chimaev to come out there and get an early finish. Most likely, I'd say a submission based on his record. I mean, he is a bit of a killer. It's hard to tell. He is 14-0 with 6 knockouts, 6 submissions, and 2 decisions. So they have similar records. They have high finish rates, and they've only been to decision between them 5 times. So it is going to be interesting. You'd have to think decision is out of the question here. So I'm going to go with an early Chimaev submission. He finally reclaims that mountain to what everyone's been tipping for a number of years and gets it done. What's your pick?
I'm right with you. I can't fault that. That's what I'm going as well, Dane. So we're in the same boat. So let's hope it comes off.
That means we're both losing money. Now, mate, I just want to I just want to quickly roll through these because we are on a time limit today. But Lerone Murphy, I believe. Now, he's going to be an exciting one. He is now 16-0-1 coming into this fight. This is going to be the co-main event, the featherweight fight against Aaron Pico. Aaron Pico, he is an Olympic wrestler who is coming over from Bellator. So he's another one in this long line of guys coming over from Bellator to see if they can crack it in the UFC. He's on a 3-fight win streak with back-to-back first-round finishes, but he did have a TKO shoulder injury back in 2022, so his last legitimate loss was back in 2019. Do you know much about these guys?
No, all that I know is Pico's making his UFC debut, coming over from Bellator, and yeah, that's gonna be an awesome fight. I feel like this card is stacked heavy with that main fight, and the rest of the card is a bit meh, but still worth watching. We'll watch the whole thing for sure.
Geez, we've said that before, haven't we, mate?
Mm.
And then we've got Jeff Neal and Carlos Prates. We
That'll
obviously
be
saw
good. I'm
should be a good
excited
fight, you
for
think?
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Prates is exciting. I know he lost. I think he lost his last fight to Ian Gary. I
correct.
think.
That was back in April.
Yes, but man, that knockout knee that he has, that's one of the most ruthless knee knockouts. Like it folds this guy, lands straight in his ribs. Like that's one of the best. And he's got Muay Thai tattooed across his chest, so he's ready to go. He means business.
It'll be interesting, mate. Then we got Jared Cannonier and Michael Page. Now, I'm a Michael Page fan. I like that he's got a bit of a weird sort of striking style. He came over, of course. He's another one who came from Bellator. He got a decision in his debut in the UFC against Kevin Holland back in 24. He lost to Ian Machado Gary, which was, I remember that fight decision. And then he backed it up with Sharbatin Magomedov back in February. So he's 2-1. And I think he is going to go into this one as a favorite. Do you have a pick?
I'm going to go with Cannonier. I just think he's one of the good guys. The UFC. He's been around for a while. He's fought in 3 different weight divisions. He's a bit of an Adonis. He's ripped and he's just ready to go. I think that he could get this done.
And then we got Tim Elliott and Kai Asakura, who's another guy. Again, we've said this a few times, coming from the outside promotion. He was in Ryzen, is it? The Japanese or Asian promotion. Now, he did make his debut against Pantoja back in December. He went straight into a flyweight championship title fight and got quickly finished by submission in the second round. I thought he might have put up a better showing, but that's obviously straight into a title fight in your first UFC fight. Never easy. Tim Elliott coming into this one, he's coming off a win. So I would like to see Asakura come back into it. Mate, just to round out the prelims too, just to get right into it, King Green will headline against Carlos Diego Ferreira, so that's prelim card. Jessica Andrade is also on that, and Edson Barboza is headlining the early prelims. So look, it's going to be an interesting card, like you said. I mean, there's probably only 1 or 2 fights there I'm super excited about. Obviously, we're all excited about the main event, but that's what we expect from these main events.
Where are you
Watching it
going to
anywhere.
watch it? Where are you going to watch it, Dane?
Oh, you beat me to it, mate. Look, I've actually got a birthday on Saturday, so I'm going to have to convince the missus to hopefully get us out just to watch the main event. But if not, I will have to watch it on replay. But right now, I'm just going to try and get to a pub, near Coogee, which is where we'll be having our birthday lunch, to see if we can just watch at least the title fight. What about you?
I've got a good weekend. We've got a boys' weekend up at the Gold Coast, so we're going to lock in at a pub and... yeah, I'm excited. I think maybe is it the Tally Creek pub? Maybe I've heard that's got a good sports bar. So yeah, we're gonna have a good weekend. I'm excited. We'll be there from midday on the dot, ready to go.
Tally Creek Hotel, you heard it here first. Watch out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, Tommy. I can't wait. We'll have a longer one next time. Hopefully, we'll get a bit more deep into it. But I think that was, for the week that we've had, that was fair enough. Enjoy the fights, mate. Enjoy the Muay Thai, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks again for joining us on Season Ticket Holders.
Easy. Thank you, Dane, and see you next time. Thank you.
Anytime. Thanks a lot, guys. Please like and follow on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Check us out. Thanks for all the support and enjoy the fights. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.